All right. Well, welcome back to the Temporal Eternal podcast. We are so glad you are with us today. Glad to have Matt back as well. I know you're a little bit under the weather for a little bit, Matt, so I'm glad you are here. Obviously, last week we had Leah Hope on, and she was
She killed it.
fantastic. She killed it. I mean, just hearing her story and just even some of the just conversations about our personal calling, our vocational call. I thought it was really phenomenal. I learned a lot and took a lot from it, and I hope you guys did as well. Once again, Temporal Eternal is all about focusing on eternity and in our just everyday life, right? And all of our actionable decisions that we can make. And if you're a first-time listener or viewer, either on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube, thank you for joining us. We have several other episodes and social media as well. And we are very excited because it is official. We are live on our website, temporaleternal.com. That is temporal, TemporalEternal.com. And on there, we'll have information about the podcast. But then also, we have some cool apparel that we are wearing. That is faith-based apparel. And if there's one right there, there's the hoodie. The hoodie looks dope, man.
It looks good, man.
I
I know.
I like the hoodie,
I was gonna
especially
put it
during
on,
winter
but you
months.
said
So
I'm wearing the same shirt as you tonight. So
I know it wasn't planned. We didn't plan this at all, but we are wearing the same shirt. So yeah, but there's a lot of cool stuff, and really the heart
it's a
behind it
good
is
quality
that it would
too.
be a great quality. We have like Bella canvas for most of our t-shirts and hoodies, and then we have dad hats, trucker hats, and beanies. Really a few cool beanies. So check it out. We tried to keep the pricing as reasonable as we could, honestly. But the whole heart and goal behind it is that it would be shirts that would remind people of eternity, and then also a lot of the funds are going to be going towards other initiatives. Really the big vision of Temporal Eternal is that we do gospel centered content online. So the podcast is like really the bedrock, the foundation of it all. But we have some really awesome visions about spoken word videos, about just a lot of cool stuff the Lord has given us. And really, it's just going to go. A lot of the proceeds of the apparel, especially early on, is just going to go towards the cost of developing those things. We're going to have a big drop in a couple months just with our Shine series, which is going to be all about evangelism and evangelism geared shirts, which I'm really excited about. But yeah,
Those
check
will
them
be
out.
limited too. So
Yeah, it will be limited. That's true. So, check it out. Limited in some ways. We'll see if there's a demand. We'll make it happen. We'll make it happen. But we'll see what happens. But we appreciate your support and, getting a t-shirt, representing a hat or something like that, and making a post about it as well. Just because, we really believe that God is going to be doing something with this. And not only would it challenge and inspire Christians, but also that it would bring non-believers to know more about Jesus and hopefully come to Christ. I'm super excited about the podcast today. Me and Matt are going to go through a couple of things, and just kind of sharing from our hearts and stuff, and just continuing with the eternity theme. So, are you excited about that, Matt?
um, I'm confused. What are you talking about? Did I not tell you?
Tell me what.
I'm switching things up on you today. I'm asking you questions. We're going to get to know
You're asking
who
me.
Donald is.
You're asking me questions.
Yeah. I need
Okay.
you
All right.
to be ready to, find out what's happening in your life. We need you to tell us.
Okay.
We need you to tell us because, I've known Donald for what, almost 2 years now, 2.5 years, um,
Yeah,
and I've never met Donald in person. It's all
that's true.
online. It's all
That's so
online.
true. Yeah.
So like, I'm in Cincinnati. We met through a Facebook group doing business stuff, and it just so
Yeah.
happens we both, have, pretty similar backgrounds in ministry and just
Yeah.
church life and all that. But I think I need to know a little bit more. I've never really asked him questions about his life. So I think it's good for the podcast to also know. So
All right.
let's go ahead
All
and
right.
start this. You cool with that, Donald?
We can go with it. I mean, it's this is for we were talking about it this week too, Matt and I mean, I think even our heart and goal, and we love feedback too in the comments, but our heart and goal is that this wouldn't just be another sermon you hear on after your Sunday service, but this would be a conversation. So, for that reason, let's do it. Let's have some fun, and I am as best I can with what I don't know what questions. I have no idea what
Yeah,
questions you're
yeah,
gonna
you
ask me.
don't know what questions I got.
I will answer them if I can. So I guess
Oh,
I'll
you'll be
let you
able to
take over,
answer
Matt.
them. You'll be able to answer them. I don't want to hear it. The first one is, where did you grow up? Because I
Okay, so
last time I
yeah.
checked, you have moved. You've been in like 15 different states living, right? So I need to know like where you grew up. Like, tell me where you've been, what you've done, type stuff.
Yeah, so you were just asking kind of childhood where I grew up
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
what
Childhood.
exactly?
Yeah, childhood.
So I grew up in a city called Brockton, Massachusetts. It's just city of champions, just south of Boston. Um, Born and raised in Massachusetts.
Did you
Huge
wait? Did you say
Patriot.
City of Champions?
Yeah, that's what Brockton's called. There's two boxers from Brockton, Marvin Hagler and Rocky Marciano. Rocky Marciano was like the only undefeated boxer. I think it was like 40 something or 50. Mayweather actually technically just surpassed him before he retired. But
Okay,
yeah,
I
so that's
thought
why
you
we're
were
known.
referring to the Patriots or something, but okay.
No, no, that's why. Well, Boston tried to do the City of Champions, and then Brockton kind of pushed back, and then Boston was like City of Championships they had to do because of that. But yeah, so that's where I'm from Brockton, from the north. Obviously, I live in Arizona now. But yeah, born and raised in Massachusetts. It was my father, my mom, me, and my younger sister Candace. So yeah.
Okay. So you started there. When did you move there from there? Like age wise?
Yeah, so I was there my whole kind of childhood, and then um, I I moved. So essentially, what happened? Uh, I guess I don't know if I might be answering some other questions, but to kind of explain, you
No,
want me to
just
explain
go.
like
Just
the
do it.
cause of the move? Okay,
Just do you.
so so basically, I wasn't going to graduate on time in high school. I was a uh, not the best behaving kid. I got suspended elementary school, middle school, high school. I was a class clown. I was at an alternative school my last 2 years of high school. Got in trouble a lot. I tested well. I was a fairly smart kid, if you will, but I didn't apply myself. Kind of had a grew up in a Christian home, but it was a little bit chaotic family life. My mom dealt with a lot of mental health issues. She's doing a lot better now, but that was a good piece of it. And then I was a broken kid, that grew up in the church but didn't have an intimate relationship with Jesus. And I found my fulfillment in friendships and girlfriend and anything but the Lord. Not a whole lot of partying, a little bit, but that really wasn't my thing. But it was just really my identity was jacked up, and I didn't have intimacy with God, even though I would go to church once or twice a week with the youth group and everything. So, fast forward to senior year, and I remember we'd have a winter conference every year for your youth group, and all the time I'd feel convicted, and then I'd go right back to my own thing. And that happened junior year. I did it again, where I knew God was calling me to do something more and to Him, but I just kind of ignored it. So in my senior year, my friend Hans Wolf, invited me to visit him in Phoenix, and he was
Phoenix. Okay.
going, yeah, Phoenix, Arizona, and he was going to a school called Master's Commission, which is basically like a hands-on discipleship program. A lot of people go there and then continue to go into pastoral ministry or full-time ministry, and a lot don't. A lot of times it's just like a gap year, like a 1 or 2 year thing, just to kind of have your foundation with God, really figure out who you are, maybe what God's calling you to do. So I went to go visit him. um, I wasn't going to graduate in time, and it was like spring break, and I went to see him, and I was just going to hang out with my friend. He's one of my best friends, and is one of my best friends. And he he kind of tricked me because he had me come during their college days, and I'll never forget. I went there, and we were just hanging around them, and I just started seeing like 100 young people lay hands on somebody and pray for them, or just worshiping God, and and they were doing illustrated sermons and human videos and dramas. And I just throughout the entire experience for those few days, I just felt the Holy Spirit um, drawing me to Him in such a real and radical way. And I knew in that moment that God called me to go to masters. And even though I was kind of jacked up, I just knew that that was the next step. So I actually got my GED a few months later, saved money. My parents, different people in the church helped support so I could pay for my tuition in full. Um, and then I was able to go a master's in September of '07. So I was in Phoenix for a year, and then we went to Dallas after that to go start a church. Master's Commission did, and then I was in Dallas for 7 or 8 years. So that's like
So
kind of that
they
time.
they travel and do ministry, right?
Yeah. So a
Did
part
you
of it,
ever
like
come to Cincinnati?
we never did. I never actually did it. We never did it. I personally didn't do any ministry in Ohio. Um, I had traveled to Illinois, Indiana. That's probably the closest to you guys that I went. Um,
I guess the
but yeah,
Atlanta
yeah,
chapter. Is it? Do you guys call chapters or whatever? I know there's Atlanta or
Atlanta
Georgia.
Atlanta Masters Commission. Yeah,
Yeah. So I think it
yeah.
was them they came up because Masters Commission
Hmm.
they come through our churches up here all the time, or they used to at
Yeah,
least.
there's like still at one point there was like a couple hundred of them. I think there's still like 60 programs, and there's a lot of also discipleship programs that are very much modeled after Master's Commission. It might not have its name, but yeah, very similar. But yeah, I mean, I'm grateful for it. I mean, I met my wife at the church that we were at in Dallas. It definitely was transformational for me, and God like radically changed my life. In that the couple of years I was there as a student, and then also it was an awesome opportunity to be kind of in a more of a leadership role and help with community outreach and traveling and stuff like that with teams to different countries as well as just all over the states, just doing youth services, conferences, things like that.
So you met your wife in Dallas. Did
Yep.
you? You're in Arizona now, though.
Hmm.
Did you said you've ended up in Chicago, right?
Yeah. So Azzy and I were married 2 years, and then in Texas, and then we got a call about an opportunity to for a pastor position at a church called Christian Hills Church in Orland Hills, Illinois. That was my first pastoral assignment. We were there for about 3.5 years. I was heavily involved in youth and young adults ministry outreach. And yeah, that was just Chicago suburbs. So that was fantastic. I mean, we loved it. It's a really cool church. Pastor Mike McCartney, he's still the lead pastor there. Brennan, who's our normal uh, person with us, he's still youth pastor in there, and actually he's actually kind of dual associate as well. So yeah, we love
Okay.
that church a lot of close friends there. So yeah, so we were there just over 3.5 years, and then we went to a church in Moline, Illinois, for 1 year, and that's right on the border of Iowa and Western Illinois. And I was youth pastor there at Calvary, which is a Calvary QC, really awesome church too. So we were really blessed to be part of two amazing churches. And then in really at the end of 2019, going into 2020, I just felt that. Uh, Holy Spirit was really speaking to us that we needed to step away from ministry, that we had to focus on our family. I had to focus on some of my junk and just spending time with Jesus. That ministry and being a pastor and those sort of things, I just wasn't in the best place to lead others, right? And it was more of a job in the fulfillment of the position more than the fulfillment of God, was kind of the priority, right? So just we realized like, okay, we need to step away. So we did. End of February 2020, we stepped away right as COVID was starting to pick up steam, and then we
And that's
moved
when I
to
started.
Arizona.
That's when I think we connected.
Yeah, we connected shortly after that.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
that was weird.
And
That's
it was cool. Yeah, one was cool just because we were both had some challenges in our life, and
hmm
both former youth pastors and stuff, and we were more in a marketing Facebook group and kind of doing the marketing side, and it's kind of just a God thing, that he kind of like brought this kind of friendship together, if you will. So yeah, so then we've been in Phoenix. This is where all my wife's family is, almost all of them. There's a couple others in Cali, but all my wife's family's here, and then my folks just moved here this past year to be near us and my kids and my wife. So yeah, so we're blessed. I mean, I miss the North, but you know, it's really cool to have family here.
Doing what God's telling you to do right now. So
Exactly. Yeah.
now, okay. So, how many kids do you have again?
So I have three. So I have Donnie,
Yeah.
he's Donald the Fourth, so he's 5. I have Haven, who's 3. And then my second daughter, Emberly, who is about 18 months now, about a year, almost a year and a half.
How old are you?
It's crazy. I am So I turn 33 next month, believe it or
Okay.
not.
Okay,
So
you're
I'm
kind of
like
old.
starting
You're kind
I'm
of
starting
old.
to feel old. Yeah,
You're
I'm
starting to
starting to
feel
feel it
old.
now. So
You're starting to feel old. Oh man, I've been feeling old the last like year. I feel like
don't
getting the gray
don't talk
hairs
to
and
me. Don't
everything.
talk to me about that until you're 30. Okay, like don't even. And then I know because I know some of our listeners because they text me, and some of our listeners are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. So it's all perspective. I'm not calling you old, our amazing audience. It's just perspective. I will say that as you get older, like emotionally, mentally, I mean, I still feel like I'm 20 now. If I start, doing sports, I don't feel that way. But like mentally, right now, I feel, you still feel sharp.
Okay. Now I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you had $100 million, what would you do with it? Like
It's a
I don't
great
know. Like
question.
what would you do it within your family or just whatever? You have full control of it. What would you do with it? Cash. $100 million cash.
That's a fun question. Well, first thing I would do is make sure tax stuff. We make sure we're not messing ourselves up there. Um, but no, I mean, we first thing we would do is we would tithe, um, tied to our local church, or with that amount, probably several churches that we believe in. I personally I believe in the tithe. We've always given at least 10%, if not more, but at least 10%. So that's always number one priority anytime I think about um, money. And then after that, it's probably shifted in the last couple of years. I would, I mean, that's a lot of money, so I would probably invest a lot of it into different businesses so that it could grow. Just because of, I think there's some wisdom behind that, and that you could in real estate and other things like that. I would want to invest some of that so that it would continue to multiply and that we could continue to do more good things. I would help my parents out, pay off their house. I would do the same thing for Azzy's folks, um, and uh, and then from there, it would just be making sure we'd have a house, making sure I take care of my family, and then from there it'd be fun. It would be what type of mission stuff could we work on, um, out of this country, what type of things that we could do inside this country. There's a lot of cool vision things I have, for just media ministry ideas. Like I said kind of earlier, like spoken word. There's this really cool website. It's going to be like a gospel message website that I'm trying to create in the next 3 to 6 months. So like putting more into that. So that's probably what I would do with it. Yeah. So,
Okay, that's a lot. There's a lot to do
hmm
there.
well, I mean, that's a lot of money. I mean, that's the difference
It is
between
a
like
lot of money.
$5,000. I mean, that list gets much smaller. So,
Much smaller. Yeah, you're right. Now, if you could remove all barriers from your relationship with God, how happy would you be? I know like sometimes we feel we have barriers up that's blocking us from having the full relationship we need. What how would you feel if you could do that?
yeah, I mean, I think,
I know that's a deep question, kind of. So,
Yeah, well, it's a tough question in general though because like really all it is it's just really it's just consistency, right? It's not the up and down of your peace being affected, your fulfillment, your confidence in him and who he's created you to be. So I mean, I think I more than anything would am I there? No, no way. Am I getting there? Yeah, I think I finally am and head in the right direction for that. But I think I'd just be excited because I feel like I would be even more productive for the Lord, if you will. Like and I think it's just a day by day. I remember a quote that was said, and they said, do you believe that you could live, for a year and not sin? This was one of my masters. I think it was Ben McClendon who I first heard this from masters. But and I, and we're like, no, no way, we couldn't. He's like, okay, how about like a month? No, no, no way. Okay, how about a week? No, no, no way. Okay, okay, how about a day? And then we start thinking, okay, maybe we could a day. And but I don't know. I don't know. That's really tough. And he says, okay, how about an hour? And we're like, yeah, for sure, an hour. And some people are like, no, I couldn't even do an hour. I know there'd be something, some thought or some mistake or some emotion that, we acted upon. Oh, and he said, okay, how about just a minute? How about just a moment? Could you live life for a minute and not sin? And of course, you're like, yeah, of course. I mean, if we're focused, if we're, and he goes, then why don't we live minute by minute? Why don't we live moment by moment? And it's just that perspective of, yeah, I mean, it is possible, right? With Christ, by Christ, that we can do that, right? So, and I think it's just keeping that focus too,
hmm
keeping that at the core of who you are and what your priorities, your time, your energy, your thought life goes into.
okay. So let's go ahead and maybe talk to our younger audience. Donald, you are almost 33 years old, right?
Hmm.
You're getting old.
I'm
What
getting
would you
old.
tell your 18-year-old self?
Oof, that's a great one. It's gonna be okay.
It's going to be okay.
It's gonna be okay. It's just focus on Jesus. It's gonna be okay. Because I think truthfully at that time, for a lot of young people, there's a ton of emotion. For a lot, there's pain, there's pressures. I mean, I know for me, I was a wreck. I mean, I was a mess. And the more I spent time with God, the more I realized like that even more so, right? Um, so yeah, I would just say, hey, it's gonna be okay. You're gonna get through it. Just spend time with Jesus, and it'll work itself out. Because another big pressure mentality, struggle, whatever word you want to use for young people, is the worry, the stress about the future, the anxiousness about maybe a spouse, a boyfriend or girlfriend, our purpose, our career, the pressures of and all these other things, or what's going to happen here, or at the end of the day, it's just like it's going to work itself out. The key is, what am I doing with that energy? What am I doing with my life? Because I have two options. I either worship anxiousness and fear, or I worship Jesus in the midst of it. And there's been seasons I've done both. And I'm more than anything now in my life. And this is how I'd encourage myself is, um, every season now I try to make sure that my worship is on Jesus and nothing else, not any emotion.
Okay. So now that you're 33, almost 33, what
Yeah.
inspires you?
What inspires me? Hmm.
We didn't go over these guys. These are all
No,
natural.
not at all.
So
So
he doesn't
sorry
know
if there's
what
like
I'm
a little bit
asking.
of gap space. Hmm. Sorry if there's some gap space in the podcast today, because um, what inspires me? For a while, and this is still a truth, is there's a lot of leaders and people in my life that I look up to, and for many years, that would be the answer to the question. Many years. I could probably name like 20 people, seriously.
Oh,
And
I know you've done
I
it
think
before.
I've done, yeah. And those are people that have discipled me or poured into me, or, I think I am, and I don't want to do the whole deconstructing thing. It's not as much that, but and I, that's its own thing. But I think I'm kind of just having like a little bit of a recalibration though. So maybe that does fall into that, where, I mean, the biggest thing that inspires me is just Jesus, and that the gospel be presented, the gospel be pushed, the gospel be told, that story of Jesus. And yes, I look up to leaders and I'm grateful for them, but for me, there was a season where leaders became an idol in my life, that I went to leaders and other people, and it's a really tough balance, because I mean, there's like the proverbs of like seek wise counsel, right? Like there's biblical um principles and truths, and what God's called us to do, to use the community of believers, and to have, leaders in our life, and like, so you need to have that. But for me, I just put them on a pedestal. And so now I'm kind of pulling that back a little bit, that I respect them from afar, and I respect some close up, and I have that relationship with them. But at the end of the day, what inspires me has to be Jesus. Is just who he is, what he's done in my life, and that has to be the number one foundational drive for me.
Okay, cool. All right, we're going to kick it back to old school. Did you ever go
Okay,
to church camp?
I did.
What's your favorite
I
memory from church camp?
I
I
I'll
give
tell.
it. Oh, this could be bad.
It was. I won't tell one story, because I won't tell one story, but I'll tell
No,
one
it's
that I
fine.
think
Go
I
ahead
can
and
tell.
tell it.
No, 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 no.
Oh,
No, no, seriously.
oh.
Um, I, uh, I guess I can tell this one. I got in trouble in kids camp, like for church camp fireside. Shout out to Megan and her husband. I think they're running the camp now, which is really crazy, because she was in my youth group in Easton, Mass. Um, and I think they're actually running the camp. I need to go up there sometime, just volunteer or something. But I think it's in New Hampshire or Maine. But anyways, camp fireside, shout out. Um, I once got in trouble because I brought a frog in, and I put it on the girls' tables. And then I also put it in, like, like those old school in the cafeteria, like they're not like the water coolers like Gatorade, but like they're like the ones that the water kind of runs on the edges. I put a frog inside of that. And I thought it was so funny. And then I was like, I like, all my free time got taken away that day. I was like on dish duty for like an hour or something. So yeah, so that's probably the one that comes to mind. Obviously, the games are fun, the snack shop, the services, that stuff. But like when I was a kid, I mean, I won't forget the memory of me getting in trouble at Camp Fireside. I,
Frogs are
I
the
was I
worst
was I was the
sometimes, you
class
know?
clown, dude. My entire life, I was the class clown, no matter where I was. That's
You're
just,
just throwing stuff everywhere, huh?
yeah. I like to mess around.
You know, what's life without messing around? You know,
Yeah, yeah,
if it's
exactly.
not harming somebody, I mean,
Yeah. What's a frog on the table? No big deal. No big deal.
no. No, I mean, they'll be on the table one day anyway, maybe. So,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. There's
have you
some
ever had
people
frog
that
legs
I've not. I don't think so.
that you
I've
know
been to
of?
Louisiana. I don't think I've had. I don't think I have. Maybe, but I don't remember.
So only Louisiana has frog legs. Is that what you're saying?
No, but I went to Louisiana and had Cajun food, and I know they had it there. I just don't remember if I actually ate some or not.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. All right, go kind of serious again. What's
Okay.
something people seem to misunderstand about you?
Ooh. Um. Uh, so I'm gonna tackle this two different ways. So like you probably recent years, I'm very much an extroverted person, and sometimes like my wife's completely opposite. She's introverted, so sometimes that can be taken of like, okay, he's a little bit obnoxious or whatever like that, and really I'm just like super relational and a little bit goofy, and sometimes I can annoy people. So I've learned to peel it back, pull it back a little bit. In general, now I would say early on, and this is kind of going back to the my childhood and growing up, and even a master's commission, my first couple of years of master's commission. I was the funny guy. And I was, and like in my big high school, my high school was like, I don't know, four or 5,000 people. It was a pretty big high school. A lot of kids knew me because I was always in school
That is a
suspension. I
big
was
high
always getting in
school.
trouble. Massive, yeah. Brockton High, baby. But I was very much, I was known as the funny white kid, right? The goofy kid.
Funny
And
white kid.
that was my that was my identity. So for years that was my identity. People, me being the butt of jokes, me being the funny guy, me being the class clown, and I found fulfillment in that. I Me making people happy made me happy, but at the end of the day, it really wasn't what God wanted. Now, there's a balance now that I have. um, I kind of went the other way and I was like super serious and following God, and now I've tried to balance really my personality and who I am, which is somebody who loves to have fun and has joy, but also balance a little bit of maturity with that and wisdom. But I think for a while, I mean, a lot of people who might not have seen me for 5, 10, 15 years, they people remember you for their last experience they had with you. So for some, I was just this kind of immature kid, and so that is a lot of times what it stems from is like, oh, Donald's a goofball, and God kind of transformed me and matured me over the years to uh, not be as goofy all the time.
Okay. Okay. So that's interesting. No, you're always cracking jokes on me. I'm like, oh my gosh. And sometimes I go, whew. That's just who I
For
am,
sure,
though.
yeah,
Things go over my head a lot. So
yeah, I know.
you do it on purpose. I know you do. Obviously, because you're the class clown. So,
Okay.
uh, anyways, so now I'm thinking of nasty all, but whatever. I'm just that's in my head. Sorry, it's a joke he does with me all the time. I guess it's an inside joke. I guess whatever. Um, so you never actually graduated high school. You just got your GED.
No, yeah, I got my GD. Yep. I probably could have, but it would have taken longer, and I just was ready to go to masters, so got it
Now you
done.
know what? You have your GED. You never graduated high school,
Hmm.
but you're doing pretty well for yourself.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
mean, I think I think that's a lot of it's. Don't get me wrong. Like
God,
for anybody in high school, yeah, make sure you do your high school, and then if your career and where you feel like God's putting you lines up with college, do college, right? I mean, I'm not I'm not against education in that way, but yeah, God's grace. It's by God's grace that He kind of walked me through some different opportunities and different types of jobs, both in ministry and business. That yeah, I've been able to be okay. So
God's good because
He is.
most
He's
people
really good.
say, "Oh, if you do really bad in school, you won't be successful later on in life." You know,
Hmm.
not everybody's good in school. So, I mean, you're smart. You're super smart.
Appreciate it.
You're smarter than me. And,
I don't know about that. I don't know about
no,
that.
I am a terrible test taker. I can't do tests. I can't study. I like I can't do that. That's just not who I am. And, that's it's just something that just a heads up out there. If you're not doing good in school, you still have a chance. Just so you know. But anyways, do good in school. You still want to try, but if you're trying and it's not working, don't be scared. God's got you. That's basically what I was saying there. So, all right, Donald. One last question.
Yes. Okay.
What is your favorite thing to eat?
Oh boy. Um, I'm gonna give you my number one, but then I'm gonna give you my top three.
Oh, okay. So you
So
just
I know
have like a bunch of good
I'm
stuff,
I'm
huh?
I'm cheating. Yeah. So my number one is pizza. From Massachusetts, we had thin crust pizza, best pizza. Favorite pizza ever was Cape Cod in Brockton. It's been around for like 70 years. It's
Now
bar
thin
pizza,
crust.
amazing. Yes,
Thin
not
crust is
deep.
in crunchy.
Yeah. Well, some's crunchy. It's not always crunchy. It's just thin slices compared to deep dish. Like it's like thin crust pizza, New York
Okay.
style, they say.
Oh, okay, okay.
Um, that's kind of what that is. So yeah.
Because
So I'd say that, and then go ahead. What were you saying?
thin crust around here is crunchy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we got New York style, you got thin crust, and you got
So more New
Chicago
York
style.
style then.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, more New York style. I do like deep dish though too.
You're
But yeah,
learning
so
about my
pizza
food
and
today.
I know I didn't know about that. When I come to Cincinnati, I'll have to try the crispy one. I don't know if I've had that.
And then
So
put some Gouda on it.
Geta, there you go, some Geta meat. Um, so yeah, I say pizza's my favorite, and then my top three is pizza, Italian, and then Mexican. I love tacos and burritos, and I'm in Arizona, which has a ton of authentic Mexican restaurants, which is amazing.
Have you ever
So
had a
yeah,
chimichanga?
I have. Yep,
Those
they're
are
good.
delicious.
They are.
But yeah, okay, cool. That's all I got, Donald. That's all I got. Thanks for
Cool.
letting me get to know you a little bit more.
No problem. Thanks for hijacking the podcast a little bit. It's kind of a fun idea, and we're gonna do some casual conversation anyway. I think Brennan will be. I think hopefully he'll be back next week. We'll see just on some different stuff, and then also we'll have some guests going forward. But yeah, anything else that we need to say before you end the podcast today, Matt?
I just say make sure you go check out our TikTok, our Instagram, and Facebook because we're getting
Yes.
ready to start posting other types of content on there that is not on the podcast. So more uplifting, encouraging, sharing the gospel, and whatever you guys can do to help us push that out to more people is
Yeah.
huge because that's our mission is to reach more people and share the gospel with everybody. So it's not just so we can get the podcast to be bigger or our social audience to be bigger. It's to reach people with God.
Yeah.
So
100%. That's the vision and the goal. And I really believe that this community is some of the people from this community, right? The temporal eternal community are going to be pivotal in producing those things, creating those things, like that whole vision of spoken words, like doing poetry, doing those things, all of that. I mean, that's not going to just be from us. That's going to be from different people that kind of have that gifting and that calling. So yeah, so just be praying for that. If God gives you vision, please share it with us. We really um, want people to hear about Jesus, and we just feel like this is something that God's kind of laid on our heart. The podcast is essential and a big part of it, but it's like I said, it's the foundation. Like Matt said too, it's the foundational piece, and that there's going to be some other stuff built on top of it as well. Would love some feedback too. Like what topics, what questions do you have, what would you love us to go over, what type of guests would you like? Seriously, like if you could drop that in the comments on YouTube, on any of our social posts, on IG, Facebook, or TikTok, send us a DM on any of those, or an email, info@temporaleternal.com. However you want to communicate to us, let us know, please. We're so flexible. If there's certain topics or Bible scriptures, Bible stories, whatever, we'd love to hear your feedback, and we will do our best to answer any questions that you have about Jesus, about faith, about eternity. So But yeah, once again, check out temporaleternal.com. Cop a shirt, cop a beanie or a hat. And yeah, we will be with you guys again next week. Hope you have a blessed week this week. And remember, always keep eternity in the forefront. See you guys.
Amen. See ya.